Hi, Kimberly. Welcome. Hi, Charity. Give everybody a minute to get in here. Hi, Sharnetta. Hello, Bill. How are you?
Hi, doing well. How about yourself?
I cannot complain, sir. I am blessed. Got the community coming in.
Been too long.
I know. You've been busy, though, as usual.
Yes, definitely. Definitely had a great trip to Baltimore.
Nice. I'll be right back. Give me a minute. Hello, everyone. I see you guys coming in. We'll get started in a couple minutes. All right. Charity said, yeah, I look Afrocentric tonight. Oh, goodness. Good evening, Talisha.
Hey, how are you?
I'm okay. Right. Before we get started and talk to Mr. Bill Huston this evening, I wanted to apologize for last Monday. I know many of you reached out because the link wasn't in the invitation. We apologize for that. We ended up having a technical issue with the guest as he was starting to share his presentation. He ran into some technical difficulties on his side. So what we decided to do was to go ahead and reschedule him. So we are going to reschedule him so you guys didn't miss anything at all. Give me 1 minute. Okay. All right. I think we can get started. We are recording. I apologize. I'm not home. I am traveling. I'm in Los Angeles for a personal issue and a conference, all happening the same week. And so just trying to get situated in my little temporary space here. Mr. Huston, I don't know if I feel like we've met Bill, but I know I've met Bill before, but I feel like the community has met Bill before. If you guys remember, several years back, Bill came and talked to us about investment crowdfunding and the Jobs Act and how the law works and all of that. We even worked together on a course. And Bill is a member and a friend of the 10K Project community. And he is a wealth of knowledge in this space. And recently, some of the laws are being looked at, and some changes are coming. And I could have talked about them, right? But why? When you know Bill. And so when you know a bill, you bring the man that knows all the things about the thing to come and talk about it. So Bill, please introduce yourself to the community. Don't be shy. Tell them how amazing you are. Tell them how long you've been doing this. And then tell us a little bit about what you've been doing before we jump into how the rules are changing.
Great. Thank you, Tawana and the 10K Project team. Feels good to be back. It's been a long time, too long. It's been too long. So I'm real excited to be here tonight. So my name is Bill Huston. I've been around the crowdfunding world since about 2011. I started in the rewards crowdfunding space, worked on a lot of rewards crowdfunding campaigns in the early days. Then when investment crowdfunding became legal in May of 2016, I'd like to say that's when I really started, but I didn't because there wasn't a lot going on. It wasn't really until about 2018 when there started to be some real activity going on in the space. I worked very closely with By the Block, which was the first Black woman-owned platform, and I had the opportunity to consult with a lot of people who were raising initially, and it was much a learning experience for me as it was for I think a lot of the people who were coming onto the platform. And I tell you that because I want to come back to really talk about one of the people that I worked with and why crowdfunding and investment crowdfunding, especially in the Black community, is so important to me. So since then I went out on my own. I created a company called CrowdMax, and what I do with CrowdMax is I actually consult with businesses and walk them through the process of investment and crowdfunding. Some of the benefits that I've learned over time is the average company that discovers crowdfunding, it takes them anywhere from 14 to 18 months to actually start raising capital from the time they discover crowdfunding. The companies that have worked with me, that process has been cut down to between 4 and 6 months. So there, I think there's definitely some value there, and that's kind of been demonstrated. Um, I've joined the Crowdfunding Professional Association. I've been a board member at NC3 for a while. I'm on the board at the Crowdfunding Professional Association now. I work very closely with SuperCrowd. And one of the things I guess I'm the most proud of is that I am working as a co-founder and a chief crowdfunding officer for the Raiseway app. And what we've done with the Raiseway app is we have actually taken my years of experience in this space, put it onto a digital platform to number one, make it more affordable, to provide a step-by-step process for founders to be able to come in, discover crowdfunding, start building their campaign, do the testing the waters campaign, execute, and then actually we provide a very systematic way for people to report. And the reason I say that is there was an article today that said about 40% of businesses, especially small businesses, are actually not doing the reporting that they should be doing. I'll go back really quickly, and I just always love to tell this story because it means so much to me. So I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm not from Louisville, Kentucky. I live in Louisville, Kentucky.
We
I've
just
been
live
here so long.
We're not from here, right? We just live here.
Yeah, but I've been here so long. Sometimes I feel like I'm from here. In about 2007, 2008, my son and I, we had a company called City Life Local Food, and our goal and mission was to be able to bring food from small family farmers into the food deserts in West Louisville and East Downtown. As we started to grow and expand that business, we needed to access capital. We were unable to access capital from the bank, which I understood because we were pretty new. Then, we made an attempt with the city to get a grant. We ended up not being written into the grant, and things kind of fell apart. And fast forward to 2018, and one of the first campaigns that I worked with was a campaign by Miss Ina Jones called Roots and Vines on the south side of Chicago. And she was doing something that was very similar to what it was that my son and I were doing with City Life Local Food. But the difference, and I want you to hear this, right? Because this is really close, near and dear to my heart. The difference was that in 2018, investment crowdfunding was legal. She was able to go to her community, get the investment dollars that she needed from the community to grow the business. And today, Roots and Vine is still actively in business, making money. They've brought Black farmers together to actually provide the food that gets into the South Side of Chicago. So that's a story that's really near and dear to my heart because it demonstrates the power of investment crowdfunding.
Yeah, very good. You have been busy. I did not realize you joined the board of the crowdfunding association. So congratulations on that.
Thank
I
you.
knew that you worked heavily with Devin at SuperCrowd. SuperCrowd, for those of you who are not familiar, it's the organization that I did the judging for last week. And then this coming week, next week, next week,
17th.
the 17th and the 18th, I think I have a panel I'm hosting for them at their SuperCrowd 24. And we'll be posting the link with a discount code. I think I may have already even done that.
You
this
posted
weekend.
the LinkedIn.
Yeah,
You
okay.
posted
And
a
I'll
code.
post something in our Facebook group too, and we'll send something out for those of you who want to attend. I think the tickets are like dirt cheap with my discount code, which is really cool. I think they go down, I think regular tickets are like $80, and with the discount code, you get like $40 off. So it becomes like this $40 event with a lot of great information. So for all of you who are entrepreneurs, I definitely recommend you consider joining us on the 17th and the 18th. So it's Wednesday and Thursday. So
And
Bill,
Tawana,
you
if I
had,
may, really quickly,
hmm,
and for investors, the Super Crowd really focuses
point.
on impact investors, impact investments, and how to really make money from those impact investments.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Because on the event we did last week, it was really cool. You got to invest live in the companies that were pitching. So that was really awesome for some of those companies who needed a little more exposure. So Bill, we've been doing this now for 4 years here at the 10K Project, right? So the community understands investment crowdfunding, right? That part they get. But I know there's some changes coming. And I want to talk about some of those changes with you. I want you to educate us on those changes and then also educate us on what's coming down the pike that maybe they're talking about at the SEC. You know, I'm always interested when there's dialogue about the accreditation rules. That's always something that's near and dear to my heart. So if you know anything about that you can give us an update on, I'd love to hear about that as well. But for those who may be joining us for the very first time, you could give us just a short summary of what investment crowdfunding is, how it works generally, and then tell us about some of the changes that are coming.
Absolutely. Again, thank you. And I want to say thank you to everyone who is spending their time here tonight listening to me, because I know everybody's time is very valuable. So when we think about investment crowdfunding, I think the best example of that is when you think about crowdfunding itself. Rewards-based crowdfunding is the Oculus Rift story. So the people at Oculus Rift, I think they raised about $2.4 million in rewards crowdfunding. And everyone who contributed to the campaign, they received some really cool goggles. And fast forward 2 years, and Facebook purchased them for $3 billion with a B, $3 billion. The people who were the founders of the company, who had stock in the company, became very wealthy people. And the people who actually kind of built the company with their dollars through the rewards crowdfunding had some really cool goggles. And it's I say that kind of in jest, but but that's real, and I think that is a great example of the real difference between investment crowdfunding. With investment crowdfunding, you can still get a reward, but what I'm really buying, the opportunity that I'm buying, is to be a part of the business, the company, in a financial way. I am purchasing a security. It could be debt, it could be equity. That's why I call it investment crowdfunding. I used to always call it equity crowdfunding, but it's not only equity. So when you think about debt, you think, that your community can actually become the bank. So you can go directly to your community and they can loan you the money, and you pay them back, interest on, and over time you provide the principal. So that's, I think, the most powerful part of that. And then of course with equity, you're investing in the company. You're going to get some stock in the company, different types of stock. Without getting too much into the terms, there are a lot of opportunities to have some ownership in the company. And if you had been one of the people who got the really cool goggles and there had been investment crowdfunding, you probably could have retired, after that deal. So I think it's very important, number one, when we think about investment crowdfunding, to realize that there are startup companies that could make you very wealthy very quickly, right? Quickly being, 3, 5, 10 years. And that, finding those good companies and investing in them is definitely worthwhile. And the other part is that they provide you with that opportunity. And I think that's the most important aspect of investment crowdfunding, because for 80 years, regular people, not accredited investors, people who were not wealthy, were not allowed to invest in these private placement deals. And today they are. One of the things, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, trying to pace myself here, but I get really excited about this. And one of the things that has been going on is what they call these community rounds. And with these community rounds, you have larger, more sophisticated investors who come in with their networks, and they bring all the dollars pretty much that they need to do a project, to start a business, to invest, in a development project. And they also have this community round where they use Reg CF to allow the community to participate in those raises. For them, the money's not always so important, but for the investors, it's an opportunity to get in with larger deals that probably, without investment crowdfunding and without these community rounds, we wouldn't be able to have access to, because we don't have those networks. We're not part of those networks. And the opportunity to invest small dollars doesn't exist. So that's one change that's what's already here. That's really exciting to me is, being able to participate in those community rounds. You find them a lot in the real estate deals, but they are coming slowly, to businesses as well, startups.
Yeah, very, very good point. I mean, that the access that it allows us is
Mhm.
truly, truly can be a game changer, right? Depending on the opportunity. Will they all become unicorn companies? Those are companies that are valuated at $1 billion? No, right? Because what's the odds of that? But these companies, many of them will turn profits. Many of them will go public. I'm in, of all of I need to count how many investment crowdfunding deals I've invested in over the last 6 years. I feel like I'm well into the multiple hundreds, I feel like. But of the ones that I've invested in, 5 of my companies have gone public. And so, that's a good start for unicorn status. And so I think we oftentimes were waiting until companies were already public, right? Before we even thought about investing in them in the stock market. And now, when I remember when I got the very first email about the first company that was going to go public, I was so excited. It doesn't mean you get rich overnight, right? That is not what it means. But it now means that company is operating in a bigger playground that now allows them to be higher earners. And so, when we talk about getting the early seat at the table, that is in fact a big deal. And when that company becomes a household name, early investors like us have already been in for a while, and then we get to cash out and make some money. Will you become a millionaire on some of these deals? Depends on how much you invest in them, right? Maybe not, but what you will become is you'll make enough money that you now can take that money and do something else with it, right? Invest it in something else, maybe start the business you've been wanting to start for yourself, pay for a kid's college, like live, right? Take a year off and travel, whatever it is you want to do. Think about it like that. You know, $100 investment may not make you $1 million. We never want to sell anybody unrealistic dreams here. But if that company has the success they're looking to have, that influx of money that you do make could be the next step on the ladder to success. And that's how I like to think about it.
You know, to that point, you know, one of the things that at Super Crowd, you know, we actually talked about was how if you're not making money on your impact investments, you're not making any impact, right? Because, you know, maybe a week, maybe a month, maybe 2 years, that business is going to go out of business. And if you are making money on your impact investments, you yourself as an investor can have a bigger impact, right? Because that money is growing as you have those successful investments, you know, exactly to the point that you were making. And, you know, you continue to grow that money. And then the last thing I want to say, and, you know, you said how many campaigns you had invested in. And my oldest son and I have started investing almost like a hobby. Not that we are independently wealthy and have, you know, $100 to give away a month, but, you know, we went to Taco Bell, and you know, we spent $30, right, for one meal at Taco Bell, and we were hungry an hour later. You know, but that $100 that we invest in that company, that could turn into something that we could continue to grow our investment portfolio with over time. So, and the last thing I'll say about that is, you know, when you research companies, you stay on the cutting edge of what's happening in the economy, in the world, you know, where technology is going. And at least at parties, you'll seem like you're really smart.
That's really, really funny. That's a good point. And you know, the rewards campaigns, because using the Oculus example, you know, that was a rewards based campaign. Before I got into investment crowdfunding, I was a Kickstarter and Indiegogo fanatic, right? My family plays board. We love games. We love all things games when we get together. So all of the hottest new games I would have first because I got them off Kickstarter or Indiegogo, right? I got my best item that I've ever purchased. It's called the Coolest Cooler. It is the best cooler you ever can imagine. I got it off of Kickstarter, and so many more items. So rewards-based crowdfunding is also very beneficial because, again, when we talk about that stepping ladder, that stepping stone, it is oftentimes where a lot of founders start, right? With the rewards base, and then they move to investment crowdfunding. So I also want to, you know, kind of give a shout out to rewards based crowdfunding because it's part of the family. It's like the distant cousin, right? And it's oftentimes how we can start to get our feet wet. So you typically how it works for product based businesses is you're donating, right? Or you're paying to get that item early, helping them produce it, and then you get it at a discounted price, right? But it oftentimes allows you to be the first person with that product. So rewards-based crowdfunding is really a great thing also. And it also then allows the founder to test the concept, right? Did it work, right? Is this something that people will be able to buy into, people are interested about? And you see a lot of great products on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, not affiliated with us, but I don't mind giving them a shout out because I think they're great companies and what they're doing doesn't cost anything for people to post their campaigns there. And you oftentimes, you know, can get some success, get some startup money. A few of our founders have started that way. I know Chalao Foods had a Kickstarter before coming to investment crowdfunding, and several others have done it as well. So, you know, for those of you founders who are interested, but you're not sure if you want to take on debt, you're not sure if you want to give away equity, right? You're not really sure how profit sharing would work, or if you wanted to do some kind of, you know, interest bearing loan, maybe rewards crowdfunding is a place where you can kind of dip your toe in and say, okay, is this something I'm interested in doing? I also like rewards crowdfunding because it gets you used to how to handle your potential investors, right? because it's a lot of responsibility being a founder that takes on actual investors. So it's nice to kind of get a handle on what does it take to have people supporting you, right? In a way that allows you to be uh, responsible for them, right? Making sure you're giving them the best service, making sure you're giving them the best product possible, making sure you're building things to last, right? Because you've got these people that believed in you early and they decided to invest in you, right? In rewards-based crowdfunding, it's giving you their money in hopes that you get a product because that's a chance people take, right? Because sometimes the product never comes. Right? I talk about all the cool stuff I got, but I can also talk about some of the cool stuff I never got, right? I mean, there's quite a few really cool things that I was excited about, but I never got them. One product that was rewards based that I never got was this really cool wall mounted lamp, and it went over each side of the bed, over the headboard, but it was like this really cool reading light. It was a built-in fan, so if you got hot flashes and the other person don't have hot flashes, then you got to turn on a big fan. Like, it was this really cool like thing. Never got it. We got an email probably about a year later saying someone had taken their idea. And so now it wasn't cost effective for them to try to make it because they've been seeing their product already in the market. And so we never got that product, right? There are a couple of games I never got that were really cool concepts. They just couldn't figure it out. So there's definitely some risks that come along with it. And so you want to try to mitigate as many of those risks possible when you're not in the real environment with investors, with actual investors, right? And so rewards-based is really good for that. But moving back over to investment crowdfunding, what are some of the challenges that founders experience, Bill? I mean, you're working with a lot of founders, helping them with their campaigns. We've referred several founders to you. Anytime they're looking for someone to manage a campaign, you're the first person I send them to because I think you're amazing. But what are some of the challenges founders have other than not enough time?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I'm gonna give myself a shameless plug here. I think I'm on blog post number 6, the 25 most often asked questions. Right when I speak with someone, so I've created a series of 25 blog posts that really answer those questions. I think the number one question, obviously, is which type. And once that question is answered, the question, and this is kind of a reality check here. People say, well, how much can I raise? Well, legally, you can raise $5 million. But that real question you're asking me is, or the real answer to the question you're asking me is, how large is your network? How many people can you engage in your network and get them to buy into and invest in the opportunity that you are presenting to them? A lot of people describe that as storytelling. Now, storytelling is all a part of that, but I find the best story to get me to part with my money personally is that I have an opportunity to invest in a business that is either going to make a tremendous impact on the world or is going to make an impact on my bottom line. Right. So one of the things I tell people all the time is talk about this as an opportunity, because to the question, one of the biggest things is people say, oh, I don't want to ask my friends for money. Well, you're not asking them for money. You are providing them with an opportunity to invest in something bigger than themselves, right? So I think that learning how to talk about your business and opportunity by centering the investor is very important. I think that's a very important first step in that process. Understanding that you are going to have to get over yourself and talk to people about investing in your business. And I say that jokingly because it's very scary. We are actually raising money kind of in the private raise right now with Raiseway on WeFunder. And so I'm getting a taste of my own medicine here. And but I am asking people, because the worst thing people can say is no. So that's another big hurdle. Learning how to talk about your business, being willing to offer people the opportunity to invest in that. And I think really that the issue there is being able to accept the no. keep it moving, keep that relationship going. Because someone doesn't invest, it's like you don't cut mom off now because she didn't invest, right, in your business. I find those to be the biggest steps. And then starting to, and this I find to be a huge problem, is really being ready on the business development side. Do I have a really good idea? Do I have a business plan? Have I researched the market? Do I understand the industry? Do I know where this is going? Why is this going to be a good investment? Really understanding that is important, because you're going to have to articulate that, right, to the people who you are providing this opportunity to. I think another big drawback, or issue that I run into a lot, is that people want to post every day about investing in their campaign. And I say to people, when you get an ad on Facebook, do you immediately pull out your credit card and say, I'm going to buy this? Or do you go to the website? Do you check it out? Do you read reviews? So it's important that you have a content marketing strategy, right? Because that content marketing strategy allows you to build and strengthen that relationship with people. If it's someone who doesn't know you well, if it's someone who doesn't necessarily know you as a business person, people do business, people invest in people who they know and trust. And content marketing is a great way to build the trust. I know that you're raising capital. I see it on the platform. So you don't have to tell me that every day. Tell me what this business is doing. Tell me what you're doing. What are some of the barriers that you run into, right? So I just kind of bled that over into transparency, right? When you're building relationships, in any relationship, but especially in business, we're people. People make mistakes, right? Things don't always go the way that we think they're going to go. So it's very important. And sometimes people are very reluctant at this, but it's very important to be transparent with people, to let people see what's going on behind the curtain, how things are developing. What are some of the barriers? How did I overcome those barriers? Because that's going to build trust for investors. That's going to build the trust in you that when problems come, and they're going to come, that you're going to be able to hit those problems head on, find solutions, and keep it moving. And I think that the really biggest obstacle that I find that people who are just coming to the investment crowdfunding space face, is really being willing to be strategic, creating a strategic marketing plan, thinking about the strategy and what the next step looks like, how you're going to guide people through whatever that sales funnel is, because you are selling them your company, you're selling them that investment opportunity. So really being strategic about everything that you do, making sure that every move that you make, every decision that you make, is leading to that next step in the process.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, Bill. And that's great advice for founders and how they need to move. The other thing when you talk about the network is obviously utilizing networks like the 10K project, right? And we do our Bet on Black pitch every Tuesday evening. And Kevin has a good comment here that I want to talk about. So Kevin said, most folks interpret your presentation of an opportunity as a recommendation. They assume that since you brought it to them, you have done the due diligence. Otherwise, why'd you bring it to them? Or why'd you bring it to him? And so, Kevin, what I want to say to you is, first of all, with investment, you have to do your own due diligence as well.
Right.
So I'll talk about the companies that we bring here to the 10K project, both on Monday night sessions for wealth building, as well as the Tuesday night pitches. We vet to the best of our ability, right? The SEC vets to the best of their ability. Doesn't mean companies don't close down. I got an email today that a company that I thought was going to be the next big thing in data collection and data management I thought that was going to be my unicorn investment. And we got an email today, they're completely dissolving the business. And so all the due diligence in the world doesn't negate the fact that life happens to people and to businesses, right? So I'll say that. The other thing is, these are your investment dollars. And so you can't rely on anyone else to do your due diligence. And I tell you that all the time here at the 10K Project. Yeah, do we do some due diligence? Absolutely. We're just not letting any old Joe Schmo come on here, right? Not to our knowledge, right? But it is up to you to make sure that the company meets your requirements for investing, because your requirements are going to be different than my requirements, different than Talisha's, different than Bill's, and different than anyone else's, right? We all have different risk tolerance. We all have different disposable income amounts that we're working with. We all have different portfolios from maybe jobs or IRAs and all of those things that we've done outside of the 10K Project, right? The way you've built your wealth in other ways, that story is different for each of us as well. And so you've got to do your due diligence. You can't assume that anyone you see on any platform is going to be a 100% sure thing, because in investing, that is not a thing, right? There is no sure deal in any kind of investing. The stock market, real estate, nothing. It's no such thing. And so you have to assume that, they always say, don't invest anything you can't afford to lose. I know that's a hard pill to swallow for many of us. I know in the times that I have lost, that has been a hard pill to swallow. But the truth is, we shouldn't invest anything that we can't lose. And we have to do our own due diligence. So I just wanted to add that in. But there are platforms that can make life a little easier, right? Give you the access. One of the things I think the 10K Project does well, right? Shameless plug for myself, is I think we bring these businesses to you that you may not have otherwise heard of, right? And that they may not have otherwise been able to be exposed to you as well. And so being able to match the two of you together to see if you like each other, right, is essentially what we're doing. We're matching you with them to see if they fit in your portfolio, whatever that portfolio structure and model is for you. But then also for them, we're introducing them to some of their potential investors, right? And it's up to them to get you to understand how amazing their product is, right? And service is, if it is amazing, if it is in fact amazing, and to get you to want to invest in what their vision is of the future. And so, while we help you with that, at the end of the day, the founder has to do the work, right, to get your attention and to help you be interested. And you've got to do the work to make sure that they are worthy of your dollars. So I just wanted to add that in as well when you talk about the network, what that really means, Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could touch on one point that that you just made there, it is your money, it is your investment dollars, and like nobody really cares if you say, "Oh, well, I listened to you." Well, the money's gone. And when you're investing in early stage companies, and they make this quite clear on the platforms, is that you can lose your entire investment. So you definitely only want to invest money that you really can afford to lose. One of the recommendations that I have, if you don't like to so much do due diligence, is to invest in things, in spaces and industries that you work in and or understand. I lost quite a sum of money, in my opinion, right, because I was caught up in the crypto craze. I didn't fully understand it. I was making some money at one point. All investment principles went out the window. I think that's called greed. I just didn't want to say that, but all investment principles went out the window. And over time, so did the money. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I wasn't crushed, but I was. But understanding that anytime you're investing, and it doesn't even really just have to be early stage companies, right? I mean, how many companies are on the Dow Jones today
Yeah.
that were there, 50 or 100 years ago, right? So, there's always business risk, but you should definitely do, your own due diligence, because you personally, each person is going to have their own level of risk, and how much they're going to be willing to tolerate. So, yeah, I would never take what someone tells me and just kind of run with it. Now I would take that to say maybe this is a company that I should research and do the due diligence on, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you're right, Bill, that it still hurts, right? Just because it was disposable income doesn't mean it hurts. It still was your hard-earned income, right? And it's still income that you could have used somewhere else that would have made a profit. So no, it stings. And I have had some losses in 2023. I've had a lot of losses and from investments, and it hurts. But I can't blame anyone, right? I can't blame anyone at all because I chose to invest in those things. Kevin said most people on these kinds of investment forums probably don't even know how to do due diligence. Well, Kevin, we taught you how to do some. We've got a webinar in our knowledge center where we teach you, we went over how to review the Form C. We teach you I think it's like 25 questions to ask in the due diligence process. So that information is in the knowledge center. And since everybody here is a member, you all have access to that knowledge center. Yep. Talisha, did you want to add anything to that?
I think, again, this is where personal responsibility does come in. I always say, like going to the grocery store, everything on the shelves are not a recommendation. They're just available to you. You have to make that choice of what you choose to buy and what you don't choose to buy, right? So just because it's there doesn't mean that I'm going to purchase it. And I think that's where, again, we have to learn how to do the things. And we've definitely given the advice over and over again. Each and every time. I think every Tuesday you say, do your due diligence. It's been, a constant part of the conversation here and has been for the 4 years. So if it is missed, it is either due to just purely you don't want to do it, and everyone has access to the internet, and now we even have ChatGPT. So we have enough resources here to do that work if you really are interested in doing it.
Yeah, one of the things I thought about, it's interesting that Kevin brought up this point about due diligence, because one of the things I thought about is what are some services we could provide from a 10K project perspective that can help, right? We're not financial advisors, right? I don't play one. I tell you I'm not one almost every week, right? And so, but what are some of the things we can help with? And it's interesting that Kevin brought up due diligence, because one of the things I thought about doing is how could I fit in what day of the week, when I was talking to myself and trying to figure this out, I was like, what day of the week could I fit in having kind of a deep dive on a deal? So let's use an example. Let's say someone came to the Tuesday Bet on Black pitch session, right? And we saw the presentation. On Wednesday, we jump on a call. Those who were participating in this program, we jump on a call and we break down the deal, right? We look at the Form C, we look at the financials, we do the due diligence together. You still have to make the decision on your own, right? Because again, I'm not a financial advisor, right? So you still have to, I'm not a broker, right? And I don't know your risk tolerance, and I don't know what companies you already have in your portfolio and all of those things. But what if we got together and we just kind of broke that information out and essentially did the due diligence exercise together? And then you decide if you want to invest in that company. It was something I thought about possibly offering as a service that could help people learn how to be not just savvier investors, but healthier investors as well. So again, just something I threw out to myself. I'm still thinking about it, but that could be a service that 10K provided to help you along. Again, you still make the final decision. I can't tell you what's good for you. You can't tell me what's good for me, right? But at least if the numbers make sense, right? If what the founder said the industry is doing makes sense, and we can verify that, right? Then maybe we can do a better job supporting some of the founders that at least come through the 10K project, right? So oftentimes I think people don't invest because we don't understand enough, right? Maybe we don't understand how big what they're doing in the market matters, right? How much of a big deal it really is with some of the more complex business industries that we may see. And then sometimes if it's not a product or service you utilize, you may not think there are other people that are somewhere saying, oh my God, that's amazing, right? Even though it didn't wow you that way, there's a room full of other people that it's wowing the heck out of. And how do we determine that? How do we determine if this is a hot market, right? A lot of times we were seeing founders, if you guys remember, we saw an AI guy 2.5, 3 years ago. I forget his name, but Talisha's gonna remember is that he was a stream of consciousness guy. I cannot remember
Yes,
his
he
name.
was.
But if
Not a very
you
good
guys
pitch,
remember this
yes.
pitch, if I showed you this pitch, you would remember, because it was almost like he was ideating in real time with us,
He
right?
was.
And so for us who were investors, it was overwhelming because it was like, dude, you probably should have already had this thought through before you got here to us, right? But he was ideating in real time. And so there was this stream of consciousness conversation that was going on. But he talked about AI. He was using AI 3 years ago. Now, had he come, if I brought that same investor back that same founder back right now, we'd all go crazy about him because AI is the big topic. 3 years ago, many of us may not have given him the time of day because we didn't understand the industry that was getting ready to come. So that's a good example of how, we may need to do something else as a group to kind of help with that due diligence process. But I cannot remember his name or the company's name. It was like AIEDC or something like that. I can't remember what the letters stood for. But it was a great business concept. I think it was just a couple of years before our time as investors.
Yeah.
It was called Artificial Intelligence Econ Development.
That's
what it was called.
That was it. Yeah. What were you going to say, Bill?
I just wanted to add this one little tidbit. So there's a group that I participate in, not as much as I probably should. And what happens is we get at the end of our hour, the person who's facilitating the group teaches us like one small part about due diligence. But the part that I like that is really good is that, so we'll do 3 companies a week, and you have to actually present the company. And it, like we can sit and talk all the time, but until you actually do it, it's a really good experience. The first one's pretty scary from my experience was, but actually doing that, going in, doing the due diligence, and then coming and presenting that to the group, I think that makes people more confident. It builds a tighter network, and it just really gives you the opportunity to get your feet wet.
Yeah, very, very good. So, Bill, tell us what's new. What's coming down the pike with investment crowdfunding? Are there laws that are changing that benefit the community? Are there things that are changing that's going to make it more difficult for us? Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so House Bill 2799, they're studying some changes to investment crowdfunding. There's been enough time, there have been enough campaigns where I guess the government, I'm always a little leery of how they get to be experts at everything, but that the government has seen some things that need to be changed. I think the biggest changes coming down the pipe are for small businesses. They are going to lighten the load on reporting. And as an investor, that may sound, I don't know, maybe I don't want them to lighten the load, but as an issuer, really lightening the load on what the reporting looks like really helps the founder. It helps the founder be able to, number one, actually raise the capital and still focus on the business while they're still focusing on the business, which is huge, because at the end of the day, they need to be generating revenue. Right. That's what's going to make your investment, profitable. So like right now, you have to have these gap financials, even though you don't have any financials. I mean, you still have to have that, even though you don't have it. So though I think that's going to be like the biggest change coming down the pipe, is actually easing back off of some of those regulations in reporting. I think, and I know you'll love this one because we've talked about this over the years. They are changing what makes someone an accredited investor. So because I'm not wealthy, I always wanted to push back when they said, oh, so-and-so is a sophisticated investor because they make over $200,000 a year, 300,000 as a couple, or they have a net worth minus their primary residence as at over $1 million. And that's probably true in most cases, but that's not true in every case. Someone may have inherited that money, right? Someone may have hit the lottery. They're not sophisticated investors. And then there are people who have been, investing small dollars, over many years, people who are trained in the investment space, but don't have those net worth or income based values that meet the SEC's requirements. So now what they're saying is that if you are an educated or knowledgeable investor and you're knowledgeable, if you have certain series that makes you a certified person in the investment space, that you can now, or they're proposing that you'll be able to become an accredited investor. And you may say, why is that important? Because Reg C already exists. But as an accredited investor, the world of investment opportunity opens up so wide.
So wide.
There are just so many more opportunities that you have the chance to invest in. Those opportunities aren't necessarily restricted by the amount of money that you make, or the amount what your net worth is and the wealth that you have. So being an accredited investor, that's going to be huge. I think that's going to really be huge for our community, because a lot of times we are low wealth, but that doesn't make us low knowledge. So I think that's going to be something that really benefits our community. As well as with the businesses at the smaller end. I mean, I really like them reducing the compliance, but I don't think that anything is going to impact anything in this House Bill 2799 is going to impact our community as much as the changes that they're proposing to accredited investors.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. It truly changes the game. It even changes the things that you pay attention to. So I was on the plane coming to Los Angeles on Sunday. In the United Airlines little magazine, there's an investment opportunity. It's a real estate opportunity. It's like a building complex in the magazine on the plane. And at the top, in very small writing, it said, for accredited investors only. But it's an opportunity to invest in a real estate complex. I don't remember where it was at, but I thought they're just advertising to people in the airline magazine, right? It just blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. There are so many opportunities that are out there that the accreditation rule prevents us from doing. And so, is it difficult, or is it going to be difficult to get one of these series certificates? I mean, I think it's not going to be easy, right? But at least it's probably easier than getting, if you only make $150,000 at your job, to getting another $50,000, right? If you only make $75,000 on your job, being able to get 125 more, it's probably easier to get the certification than it is to get a raise, right? Especially in this market. And so from that standpoint, I would say it's as easy as you allow it to be with studying for, and how bad do you want it, right? But at least it makes it possible. I was looking at an article the other day, and it talked about marrying for accreditation. I started to repost it. I thought people would be offended, but those of you who take marriage really, really seriously don't want people joking about it. So I didn't post it because I didn't want to be canceled, but it was an article about marrying for accreditation status. And so I thought it's a really smart article, because couples, $200,000 on your own, $300,000 if you're married, if you're a couple. It's like, that's a nice discount, like on what you have to come to the table with. But wait a minute.
She's causing herself a heart attack. But I think I think that's a great thing to post, because I think people don't understand where these things come from and why certain institutions help that along. Like it is a very institutional, it's like taxes. People think about that only at tax season do we talk about married, filing single, household, we never talk about those things, but there's are really pragmatic and practical applications for those institutions to exist. And what do they give you, such as accreditation?
Absolutely. And also there's some, from a real estate understanding, there's also some reasons why you shouldn't, right? Why maybe living together may make the most sense, right? If you're trying to get if you're trying to buy property and you're trying to get the best interest rates, and you may be able to get better interest rates as a single person who's a first-time home buyer, right? Then maybe you wait to get married until you acquire some things. I think when you look at this investment journey and this wealth building journey, all things have to be taken into consideration in our community, because for so long we've been left out, right, of the real wealth building, that strategy for us becomes everything. Catching up for us becomes everything, right? And so we may have to get a little more creative than the average bear, because we're so far behind in this thing. So just my 2 cents. Again, if you don't come for me, y'all married people, I do take marriage very seriously, but I'm also a realist. And so the Marrying for Accreditation article was actually a good article. I need to try to find it again. Maybe I will
go back and get it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kevin says, hold on. Somebody said, hold on before I get to Kevin's comment.
That's Tracy. She said,
"Oh, Tracy said, I'm down."
I'm about to put my own ad in the United little pamphlet, so maybe somebody will see me in the airport. Maybe that's the way we do it. Maybe I'm thinking about this all wrong.
Maybe you are. Okay, so I got two people that need a spouse, so they can get accreditation. Don't make me start a new business.
A matchmaker for accreditation.
Accreditation.
That's what it's called.
Kevin said, on due diligence, the question that most often comes to mind for me is about validating the claim of forecasts. Oh, hold on, my screen jumped. I'm sorry. Of forecasts on demand, sales and earnings growth, etc., especially for new concepts for which recorded sales data is not readily available. What is the best basis, or what is the basis for forecasts and the attendant level of confidence? Hey, we've seen existing cash flowing businesses fall flat on their faces after purchase when they were supposed to be low risk and not something to worry about. I think Kevin, forecasts for me, when I'm doing my due diligence, I take the founders' forecast with a grain of salt, right? So I love the founders who are very conservative and they tell us they're being conservative in their numbers, right? Because that at least lets me know that they're thinking about this in a responsible way. But forecasts are just that, right? Think about it from your own standpoint. Think about how you forecast your budget out, right? So I prepare my budget for the month, and I think I know exactly what I'm going to be doing, right? I think I know how much I'm going to put aside. I think I know how much I'm going to spend based on what the bills I already know about are. But I think I'm going to not go shopping, right? I think it's going to be a good month. I'm not going to waste money on silly stuff, right? When I see the social media ad with the next new thing coming out, the really cool gadget, I'm not going to want to buy it. But at the end of the month, when I actually look at what happened, I may say, you didn't follow your own advice and you did buy some of those silly little gadgets, right? Some of them may have been cool and some of them were not worth it. But now you've spent $400 more than you expected, right? So you didn't save as much as you thought you are. Life happens, right? The industries that we're investing in are doing the same thing. They're making assumptions based on what they believe they know to be factual, but also to be possible. And so we also have to take that as a grain of salt. So we have to say, if they've made these forecasts and they're saying they're being conservative, or even the ones that say that they're not being conservative, I think we have to take that number and we have to even make it a little more realistic and even more conservative, right? To determine that if they don't do this, is this still a deal? If they only do 50% of what they say they're going to do, is this still a deal? Is this still something that fits in my portfolio? Do I still believe in the philosophy of the company? Do I still believe in the mission of the company? Does this change in possible forecast prolong success, or does it prevent success from occurring at all? Like, those are the questions I ask in my due diligence process to help me decide. Because the numbers on a PowerPoint are just that, numbers on a PowerPoint, right? Oftentimes we ask people where they get their numbers from. You guys ask that question all the time. There's someone in here that asks questions under the name anonymous. They almost always ask that question. Where'd you get these numbers from? Right? And so whoever that anonymous person is, I appreciate when they ask that question every week, because it gets us to the source. And sometimes the founders tell us the actual source, and then sometimes they say, well, we made some conservative assumptions, right? That question even allows us to make a more informed decision. Did they use hard data, or are they guessing? Because assumption is just a nice fancy word for I guessed, right? Right? Maybe it was an educated guess, but it was still a guess. So I think, Kevin, we have to make that kind of assessment, right? But researching the industry may help. There's a lot of information out there now on revenue from an industry standpoint, right? How much an industry made in this year versus that year. So you can take numbers like that. And I mean, we live in a day and age and a time where technology is only going to be able to help us when making some of these investment decisions. Really, really are, because the data, right? That thing that we covet so closely, the data is out there for us to find. You got to do some work sometimes. You know, you may have to spend a lot of time looking for it, but it's out there.
You know, Tawana, if I can add one other thing really quickly to that, and the due diligence, and it's, you know, you were talking about the founders. Well, is that founder team capable of making this stuff come true, right? With $1 million, with $10 million, do they have the background? Do they have the knowledge and the experience in a particular industry, in the startup industry, to really make that happen? Because you can have like perfect, well-researched numbers and great concepts, but if that management team is a C-level team, they're going to take an A+ idea and absolutely run it in the ground. And an A management team could take a C+ idea and make it flow, right? So it's, you know, at the end of the day, it all comes down to human resources.
Very, very wonderful point, Bill. Very, very good point. Yeah. Kevin said, but I had a margin of tolerance for my budget. Absolutely. And as investors, we also need to have a margin of tolerance, right? When the forecast, like I said, when the forecasts are put out there, we've got to decide if they assumed incorrectly, what now becomes the risk? Is this still a good company for me, a good investment for me, if they miss the mark on these numbers by X%, right? And maybe if they missed it by 10%, they still good? They miss it by 30%. Are they still good? They miss it by 60%. Nah, they're not good no more, right? Like, you have to decide that for you, deal by deal, industry by industry, founder by founder, right? Because that's part of it too, right? You know, has the work that they've done in the past, so they come with enough level of experience that we believe they can make these numbers work at the different intervals. So, Kevin, I hope I answered your question.
And if I could, the two things I want to get really close to, if we're running out of time. If not, we can keep going. But if we're running out of time, the two other things about House Bill 2799 that I want to say is that, so I'll go in this order, is that they are increasing, you know, the disclosures that have to be provided to the investors, you know, about the clarity and the comprehensiveness of those disclosures that you are making. Even today, you know, before this becomes law, you know, your statements can't be too forward looking. And you know, if they are, then they're not going to be compliant. But that is one thing that House Bill 2799 is really taking a look at. You know, it's clear, comprehensive disclosures that are going out to the investors. And then the other thing that's really interesting that I think in the future is going to really be something is that gig workers are now being able to be offered opportunities to invest in the company. So as an example, if you're on Upwork, you know, there's an opportunity for you not only to be paid in dollars, but you can be paid in equity and, you know, have that, you know, have the opportunity to get some equity and grow that company as the company continues to grow. So I think those are kind of the last two things that I really wanted to talk about on with House Bill 2799. I would say stay tuned, and and definitely do your due diligence on what's coming down the pipe with with these regulations, with Regulation A+. They're talking about raising that to 150,000, which would be doubling, what you can raise in tier 2 already, from 75 to $150,000. That's enough money to do some serious damage.
Yeah. And I want to make another point. I feel like we said it, but I want to make it clearer. These are not just startups anymore, right? The Jobs Act kind of, it made the assumptions that these were startup businesses. But because of the impact that crowdfunding, the investment crowdfunding has made over the years, companies that are making money and that have been in business for 10 years are raising capital this way, right? They're not going the VC route as often, because that money is not as available. They're coming to investment crowdfunding. They're coming to you. They're coming to the everyday investor to raise the capital. And so some of the risk is alleviated in the process because these are businesses that are established. They're not startups. Somebody said to me the other day, I'm not going to invest anymore. They said it very graciously and said, Tawana, I appreciate what you do with 10K Project, but I'm not going to invest in startups anymore. And I thought, that's nice, but don't discount the 10K projects, because some of the companies we bring are not startups, right? Define a startup. These businesses have been in business for a long time. They've had impact. They're making money, right? We had company just this season. I feel like we've had several companies that already said they had over $1 million in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a startup. That's not a startup. These are established businesses, but they still have financial needs, right? And they're coming to you to invest. And to me, those are the businesses you want to have access. Those are the businesses you want to pay attention to, because they've proven they can make money. And if they had more working capital, imagine what they could do. Imagine the impact they could make then. So don't think this is just, I had an idea yesterday and I'm starting a business tomorrow and I need you to help me financially. That's not the companies we're bringing to you at the 10K Project. So I just wanted to be able to say that clearer.
And I always want to be respectful of people's time, but I can talk for a long time about this topic, because I really love it. To your point, Tawana, at the lower end of that scale, there are tons of businesses that have been in business for years and years and years. Restaurants, bars, places where people go, where they already have the fans, and now they're going to open up the opportunity for you to get a financial benefit from the success of a business that you're already helping to drive. One of the things at CFPA that we're kind of talking about a little bit now is, what does community capital investment crowdfunding look like, filling some of the gaps for private equity, because they're not just going to be trying to draw out every single penny, because they're going to care about, the communities that they're going into. And as these baby boomers continue to get older, in that silver tsunami where you have businesses that are already successful, and the owners of the businesses want out, there are many opportunities for investment crowdfunding. And as it continues to expand, I think we need to expand the way we think about it, right? To your point, that this is not 2016 anymore, right? That as those dollars, the amounts that are allowed to be invested go up, there are many opportunities to get into businesses that are already established, cash flowing, and successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we need to pay attention. Anything else we want to talk about on this topic, Talisha, before we say thank you and goodbye to Mr. Huston?
I think going back to the de-risking, I used to work in a venture studio, and that was a lot of the things that we were talking about, why the studio was, effectuated was because we were trying to de-risk the aspect of creating startups. But even in that, there was always something that had to measure the attrition. And that was a big deal for everybody because every investor who came to us was like, what's your attrition? They wanted to know what failed and why. And they were looking for that. No one wanted you to have 100% of, oh, every company that we make is great, because that wouldn't work. That would be very much facetious. But also, they wanted to see how much were we churning, because they wanted to see if the process was working. And that's really what due diligence is. It's the ability to see, am I using the right technique, the formulas to assess these companies, and then waiting. Some of these companies were great up until the pandemic, and that changed the scope drastically. AI is doing the same thing. These people come out with these ideas, and all of a sudden, that AI component has now changed how they have to interact. So before that, we didn't have any part of that strategy, but then all of a sudden, every co-founder is asked, what's your AI strategy? They didn't think about it because it wasn't a part of their deal. So these things happen very dynamically, and that's the part, your formulaic aspect. There has to be some rubric that you're using just as personal investors, but also that you have to take into account the other aspects, which are environmental, socioeconomic, all of those things. Building a business during, an election year is harder than building a business any other time of the year and in different years. These are the things that we're looking for to really begin to understand how the sophistication of a comes about. That's where the education is. And I think that's what we're trying to do here for you, is to give you those means and ways and also the opportunities. So we're giving you everything that we possibly can in order for you to have a full kind of host. And we are de-risking that for you by giving you this information.
Very, very good point, Talisha. Before we go, tomorrow's Bet on Black Pitch Founder is a real estate opportunity. So Bill talked about some investment crowdfunding opportunities in the real estate space. We have one tomorrow. It's actually a returning founder with a new opportunity. And so please join us tomorrow for that. Also, the wealth building retreat, for anyone that's interested in that, November 4th through the 10th, 6 nights in Marrakesh, Morocco, all inclusive, including airfare from New York to Marrakesh, all meals, all transportation, all of that stuff. You should receive an email this week that has some more details. Please look at your emails. Talisha and I met yesterday to talk about the new structure for sending communications. For those of us who get all of the newsletters, any kind of special emails, and all of the Zoom invites, I know it gets a lot. It gets to be a lot. So one of the things we did is we turned off some of the Zoom reminders, so you won't get those emails again. And we cut down the email communications to now 2 communications a week, and we may throw a special one in there here and there. But we want you, when we send an email, we want you to open it. We want you to look at it. We want you to read it thoroughly. And so we're going to cut back so that you feel confident that when we send something, it is worth you looking at. It's not just one more thing. So I hope that you guys, start to click a little more, start to open the emails a little bit more, so that we can make sure you hear about everything that we're doing, and so that you don't miss anything. What else? Thank you to those of you that have started sending in your testimonials. Over the last few weeks, I've received quite a few of them. So thank you very much. That link is also in the newsletter. You can do a video, you can do an audio, or you can just type your testimonial. So you can do it however you want to. Just do it, please. But I appreciate that those are coming in. What else? The ambassador program, still, please, that's available as well. It allows you to invite a member of your friend's family to the 10K project if they join for the first time and join with an annual membership. If they use your code, they get $50 off, and you get $45 of that membership fee that will be paid out to you quarterly. So I think that's all of the updates. Thank you again so much for joining us this evening. Again, my apologies for last week and the fact that we missed you guys last week, but we are here where we're back. And I appreciate you guys. Let me see. I think I see a question. Oh, Talisha just put the retreat link in the
Yes.
thing for you guys. Very good. Kevin said, good discussion tonight. Thanks to y'all. No, thank you, Kevin. We appreciate you and your support of the 10K. Bill, any final words for you, sir? If we've got any founders in here looking, they're thinking about it. And what you said here tonight, they want to do it. They want to pull the trigger. They want to think about having a crowdfunding campaign. How can they get a hold of you?
So you can get a hold of me on LinkedIn. I am there too often. I am there all day, every day with my notifications turned on. You can reach me at Bill Huston at crowd-max.com. And if I can stick a link into the chat, and people can actually download an ebook that I created, for specifically for investment crowdfunding for Black founders.
Do it.
Yeah, put it in. Make sure you
do it.
everyone.
And actually, if you send it to us, we can add it to the under the replay.
Yes, I'll just take it from there.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah, please reach out to me. Like I said, right now I'm doing a series on LinkedIn. I think I'm on the sixth one. So tomorrow will be probably number 7, but the 25 most often asked questions, right, that I get about investment crowdfunding from people who are just discovering crowdfunding and think it may be an option for them. Thank you all so much for inviting me, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate you, brother. All
Thank
right,
you.
Sean, I'll talk to you later, dear.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
night, everyone. See you
Good
tomorrow.
night.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.